This article appeared in the New England Journal a few years ago from the University of Washington in Seattle and Melbourne, Australia. And basically it says this, that when you assess the global burden of disease, comorbidities worldwide, low income, high income, middle income countries, and you ask the question in 1990, where does high blood pressure or elevated levels of blood pressure fall in the continuum of threats to life and threats to living with a disability? In other words, surviving a target organ event, but nonetheless being impaired from it. And the answer is high blood pressure was number 4 in 1990, but over 20 years, by the year 2010, the World Health Organization and other groups that have looked at leading risk factors for death and disability adjusted life years, DALYs for short, have now placed it squarely in the front seat, the number 1 position worldwide. And that's not just this group. This is a separate publication, but this gives you graphically sense of where high blood pressure compared to other leading risk factors for death and for cardiovascular disease, where it falls. And the color coding here on the bars goes from high mortality in developed regions to less developed regions worldwide. But no matter whether you're in a very poor part of the world or a very wealthy part of the world, high blood pressure is the leading risk factor for death and disability worldwide. To give you a peek at what I'm going to say at the very end here, the health and economic burden of diseases associated with blood pressure don't disappear when you adjust for country of origin, usage of tobacco, intake of salt, and other things. Most of the world is getting heavier, and the adverse events and the adverse effects associated with obesity, I'm going to touch on just a little bit. But there's not just blood pressure concerns, there's also diabetes and cancer concerns associated with the gain in weight worldwide. I'll explain what access to excess is in just a few minutes. And the degree of control of a risk factor that you can so easily measure, like high blood pressure, is still a rather elusive goal worldwide. And I think we have an opportunity for more work to be done. And that's why I was happy to be part of this relationship between the World Health Organization and in-country agencies like different hypertension programs within different countries of the world to work on global measurement of high blood pressure and global normalization, especially normalization per country of blood pressure. And then I'll talk a little bit about prevention strategies and goals. And there's an interesting meta-analysis that's in the works called the Prospero, and it turns out it comes from Cameroon. So I was pretty impressed to see that, and it's well written, and I think it will contribute greatly to the world's literature.